There's a lot going on in the traditional markets and crypto markets. Let's jump in, take a look at what's going on. A lot of big news this week so far. Markets are relatively flat. I mean, NASDAQ's up 1.4, S&P up 0.74. The Dow Jones is relatively flat. S&P, NASDAQ up on better than expected inflation news. So we are definitely in and have been in disinflation, meaning there's still inflation, prices are still rising, but they're rising at a slower pace. That's what disinflation is versus deflation, where prices are just flat dropping, which may be the next leg that we enter into. There's still a debate going on whether prices are going to stay down or whether we're going to see a rebound. We've got some energy prices and some commodity prices bouncing a little bit, but as far as all the core components and the PPI, producer price index, and all that coming in less than expected, lower than expected, it looks like disinflation rules the day in the near term. So we will see what things look like. And what is deflation? That's when prices are dropping. Why do people worry about deflation? Why do you want inflation? And why is the Fed's target of inflation 2%? Because in order to grow an economy, you want prices to grow, you want earnings to grow, you want revenues to grow. So you need a little inflation to keep the economy buzzing and to keep things in balance. If you have deflation, prices dropping, then that puts pressure on earnings. Revenues drop, top line sales drop, and that could lead to potential layoffs if prices are dropping and there's little consumer demand for goods and services. That can put pressure on the economy. Although we are not we're not a production economy, we're not a manufacturing economy. Primarily, we are a consumption-based economy. That's what's keeping things going. Consumers are spending, people still have jobs. There's a lot of money and liquidity out there, like we've been talking about, that has been created over the last couple of years from the Fed, from the government, through stimulus, things like that, but also through markets. Values of houses increasing, people taking equity out, and wages rising. So that's keeping the economy humming along in the markets. So big news today. Former Celsius CEO Alex Mashinsky was arrested and on charges of fraud. So federal prosecutors unveiled 7 charges against CEO Alex Mashinsky, Celsius CEO Alex Mashinsky. That's hard to say. Celsius CEO Alex Mashinsky, a key executive, was arrested and charged with, misrepresented, among other things, the safety of Celsius's yield and activities, Celsius profitability, the long-term sustainability of Celsius's high rewards rates, and risks associated with depositing crypto. So basically, he flat out lied to everybody. So he's being charged with fraud and all kinds of different things. So this has been a year in the making. Big news in the crypto industry today. Mashinsky is most likely going to go to jail along with Sam Bankman-Fried. So it'll be interesting to see how these things play out as we go along. And as far as the DOJ, they definitely have their eyes potentially set on some other targets, and we'll see most likely those shoes start to drop soon. But as you can see, it can take a while for these things to happen. Sam Bankman-Fried, his arrest came about pretty quick because they had a lot of witnesses, inside information, things like that. Mashinsky took a lot longer to put together all the details and documentation, because the last thing you want to do is make an arrest and then they get off because you didn't do the job thoroughly. So I think that may be why you're hearing rumors of other DOJ charges pending a bit against maybe Binance and CZ. And it hasn't happened yet. They got to get all their ducks in a row, and it may or may not happen. If they don't have enough evidence, they won't do anything, and there may or may not be anything criminal going on other than what is already being accused by the SEC and their stuff, which, they're not accusing criminal activity necessarily, although, it's against securities law. So yeah, that's criminal, but not, it's more civil. The SEC is more like parking tickets, right? They charge people with things and companies, and you pay a fine and you move on. So that's kind of what the SEC does. Other news today, Ripple had summary judgment. The judge ruled on summary judgment. So what's summary judgment? That's when the attorneys they file a motion for summary judgment, meaning the judge will review the case, read both sides, and issue their judgment versus going to trial. So the judge ruled, and this is interesting because there's a lot of debate going on in the space right now. A lot of people saying that XRP is definitely not a security, and we saw the token almost double instantly on the news. The altcoin space is up, which needed a little bit of a boost, a much needed boost in the altcoin space. And of course, Bitcoin got a little pop, but we're starting to see that retract because of what I'm getting ready to tell you. It is a partial victory for both sides. The judge partially ruled in favor of both sides and against both sides on certain issues. But basically what they ruled was the sale of Ripple's XRP tokens on exchanges and through algorithms did not constitute investment contracts. The U.S. District Court of the Southern District of New York ruled Thursday, but the institutional sale of the tokens did violate securities law, is what the court said. So, of course, XRP rallied on the news, and so did Coinbase, because a lot of people said, well, if they're saying XRP is not a security, which is not what they're saying, then that means that Coinbase is off the hook, which is not the case, because Coinbase's issues are very different. They're being charged with operating an illegal exchange and other services that they're not registered to do, like staking and all of these other things that do require securities registration. So, and this will likely get appealed as well. Ripple will likely appeal the suit because they did not get ruled completely in favor. So Ripple is going to appeal, the SEC is going to appeal. So we're going to see this thing play out further. So this is not the end of it. The court published the conclusions in an order partially granting a motion for summary judgment in the case against the blockchain platform. Let me see. This has been going on for a couple of years. The ruling, according to the order from the court of the Southern District of New York, Ripple first sold $728 million worth of XRP directly to institutional buyers, hedge funds, and other parties. These institutional sales constituted the unregistered offer of the sale of investment contracts in violation of federal securities law. So that's the big issue there that Ripple's not going to like because it makes them liable. And then there's potential criminal stuff to, coming out against the principals and the CEO as well, following this. But, there's a lot of conversation and debate going on about, what this all means. The programmatic sales of XRP through exchanges and algorithms did not qualify as the sale of securities because the SEC cannot definitively say speculative investors had a reasonable expectations of profits to be derived from the entrepreneurial or managerial efforts and others from others. And there is no evidence that a reasonable programmatic buyer, retail public, who was generally less sophisticated as an investor, shared similar understandings and expectations. Also, what they're saying is the general public did not know who they were buying from, or that they didn't know that they were buying directly from. They had no knowledge that they were buying directly from Ripple. And what that means is if it's traded on exchanges, I could be selling them to you, you could be selling them to each other. You just don't know who the actual buyer and seller of those are, even though they were originally issued by Ripple. You didn't buy them directly from Ripple necessarily after that instance, like the hedge funds did. So this will be really interesting to see how this plays out. A couple of the top, people in the space, a lot of debate going on about it, and a lot of tweets out there about this, the decision. And this decision raises more questions than it answers. How can a thing be a security in one transaction but not in another? And I guess, the idea is even commodities can be securities depending on how they are packaged and sold and things like that. So this is going to get real interesting in terms of how this all plays out. So that is the big news for the week. Let's jump in and take a look at the charts and the markets. Again, this is the Dow wrestling with the 702 like it has been. That's the critical level. Right now, we've got a double top. Typically, when you have a double top, you get a significant pullback. So we'll see if that plays out. NASDAQ marching on and rejecting right on the 7 or just above the 786. So it cleared the 702, cleared the 786. So that'll be interesting to see if the NASDAQ can keep up and keep going. And right now, the S&P marching to the 786. So if they cleared the 786 and get support, then you have an all clear. And we might be going back to previous all-time highs to see if this bull market rally or this bear market rally can continue and turn into a bull market, which a lot of people are declaring this a bull market right now. May very well be, but once you get past that 786 level, then you can start looking at the all clear. The VIX has retreated, had a little pop the other day, retreated on the inflation news. The dollar is falling fast down to $99. So that was an interesting play for the dollar. It looked like the dollar was wanting to make another run for the 105 level. It reversed on inflation news, of course, risk off. The treasuries all reversed. This is going to ease pressure on mortgage rates. We'll see if that spurs a little bit of buying, even though this is the summer quiet season. Properties are still getting multiple offers, still selling for more than asking in some markets. Other markets are a little soft right now. The big thing is in the housing market, there is no inventory. So prices are going to continue to stay higher while the inventory struggles. On another note, oil is up. So that's going to obviously put a little bit of pressure on gas prices. Gas had been coming down, which is one of the things that has helped with inflation, housing, with rents in some markets coming down, and the reports of it seem to help the inflation report as well. So those are the things that are playing into it. Here's Bitcoin, had a little bit of a pop on the news today, breaking out of that 30,000 into the 31,300 range. Again, 31.5 is the number that you're looking for Bitcoin to clear right there. And the altcoin market, ETH got a little bit of a bounce, up 6% right now. Let's take a look at XRP. At one point, XRP, this was the channel that it's been in, that it broke out of. So at one point, XRP was up as much as 98%. A lot of people think that now XRP is going to get listed on a bunch of exchanges. We'll see whether Coinbase and everybody else is going to list XRP. Difficult for people to trade in the United States unless you're trading on a DeFi exchange. Trading at 80 cents right now has retracted quite a bit from that almost 100% bounce of 93 cents because the news isn't what it seems to be. It's not as positive for XRP right now in the near term that everybody thinks that would clear the path for the token being relisted on platforms or listed on platforms and clearing the path for Coinbase. Because again, the litigation against Coinbase is a whole different ballgame. Some people are seeing this win, partial win for both sides as the end of the SEC's cases against all the other altcoins. That's why altcoins are bouncing. Matic up, Solana up right here, 17%, everything up pretty much 17 to 18% across the board. And as you can see, a lot of excitement in the altcoin space. It's been kind of dead lately, but your major altcoins are all up about 17. They were up 17 to 20% at some point. The rest of them up 7 to 10%. So a lot of action going on. And then here's Coinbase getting a nice little pop on the news, currently up about 20% with about an hour left to go in trading. So Coinbase has broken out of this little range it's been in here for the last few months. So big news, exciting times for the space, a lot going on. So we'll just have to continue to see how things play out. Watch the disinflation, see if that turns into deflation. Keep an eye on the SEC. Keep an eye on the Ripple case. That will definitely get appealed, probably by both sides, but Ripple is definitely going to appeal it because the first ruling about the hedge fund issuance, they're not going to like that. So they're going to definitely want to retry this. So that case will ultimately go to trial. How far will it go? We'll see. That may be something that potentially ends up in the Supreme Court and questions the Howey test, which again is a congressional act, not a Supreme Court thing. So be interesting to follow all this as it goes along. A lot of commentary out there. Listen to the attorneys that are in the space. You have John Reed Stark out there. You've got a couple of other people that are actual attorneys in the space. So you want to listen to what they're saying, not the general hype and news that gets spread around, because some of that's not exactly accurate. So these are the things I'm looking at. I'll see you in the next video.